The Christmas cards were scattered across my kitchen table like evidence. Not a crime of passion, but something colder, calculated. The face of my 6-year-old granddaughter, Maya, had been erased from every single photograph. I picked one up, my hand shaking so badly the glossy cardstock rattled. There was my younger son, Mark, and his wife, Brittany, standing in the back row. Their children, Connor and Lily, were in the front. And in the middle, where Maya had stood beaming with a gap-toothed grin, there was just nothing. Connor and Lily's hands were now linked. The background was seamless. She hadn't just been cropped out. She had been surgically removed, digitally murdered. I'm Eleanor Parker. I'm 68 years old, and I thought I'd seen every flavor of family drama life could serve. I was wrong. My fingers fumbled with my phone, my breath catching in my chest. I dialed the number for Morrison Photography. Morrison Photography, this is Mr. Morrison. Mr. Morrison, this is Eleanor Parker. We had our family photos taken last month. Ah, yes, Mrs. Parker. A beautiful family. How did the cards turn out? That's why I'm calling, I said, my voice tight. There's a mistake. My granddaughter, Maya, she's missing from all the photos. A heavy silence stretched across the line. When he spoke again, his voice was careful, measured. Mrs. Parker, I think you need to speak with your daughter-in-law. She requested those specific edits when she picked up the photos. The room tilted. What? She said there had been a family disagreement and asked us to remove the little girl from the final prints. A family disagreement. That's what she'd called it. This calculated, vicious erasure. How much did this editing cost? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Digital retouching for that level of work runs about $300, ma'am. $300. Brittany had paid $300 to wipe Maya from existence. The phone slipped from my fingers and clattered onto the table. I just stared at the empty space on the card, the space where my granddaughter should have been. If you're watching this video, tell me where you're from or what time it is for you. 6 months earlier, my world had ended on a Tuesday. I was pulling weeds in my front garden when the phone rang. Mrs. Eleanor Parker? The voice was professional, devoid of emotion. This is she. Mrs. Parker, my name is Cynthia Warren. I'm a caseworker with Child Protective Services. I'm calling about your son, David, and his wife, Sarah. My blood went cold. I stood up too fast, clutching the cordless phone. What's happened? There was an accident, ma'am, on Interstate 95, a head-on collision. A drunk driver crossed the median. Are they... I couldn't say the word. Ma'am, I'm so sorry. Your son and daughter-in-law were both pronounced dead at the scene. The phone fell from my hand then, too. I sank onto the porch steps, the world dissolving into a gray blur. David, my eldest boy, gone. Sarah, his beautiful wife, gone. But then a thought pierced through the fog, sharp and terrifying. Maya, I whispered, fumbling for the phone in the dirt. Their daughter, my granddaughter, is she... The child wasn't with them, Mrs. Parker. She was at a neighbor's house. I collapsed in on myself, a strange, strangled noise tearing from my throat. It was half sob, half gasp of relief. Mrs. Parker, the social worker said gently, we need to discuss custody. Are you able to take Maya? I didn't hesitate, not for a second. Of course, I said, my voice breaking. She's my granddaughter. She's all I have left of him. Maya arrived 3 days later. The social worker's car pulled up, and my granddaughter stepped out, a tiny lost figure. She carried a small pink suitcase in one hand and a worn, stuffed elephant in the other. This is Mr. Peanuts, she whispered when I knelt to hug her. It was the first thing she'd said. She hadn't spoken a word since being told about the accident. I held her, this beautiful blend of my son's pale Irish skin and Sarah's rich chocolate complexion. She was 6 years old and had lost everything. Welcome home, sweetheart, I whispered, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo. You're safe now. I called Mark, my younger son. The the moment Maya was settled in the guest room. He and Brittany lived just 2 miles away with their children, Connor and Lily. "Mark, she's here. She's so quiet." "Mom, that's great. Look, Brittany and I will rally the troops. We'll have you both over for dinner soon. We're family. That's what families do." I hung up, feeling a sliver of hope. We would get through this. We would rally. We were family. I was wrong about everything. The first dinner at Mark and Brittany's house felt like walking through a minefield. We sat at their pristine dining room table. The one Brittany always bragged was an heirloom, though I knew she'd bought it at an outlet. Brittany kept steering the conversation away from Maya, away from David, away from anything that mattered. She talked about Connor's soccer team and Lily's ballet recital. Maya sat beside me, silent, pushing a green bean around her plate with her fork. Then it happened. Maya reached for her milk glass, her small hand knocking it over. White milk flooded the polished wood. Maya froze, her eyes wide with terror. Brittany's smile, which had been plastered on all night, tightened into something sharp and cold. "Accidents happen," I said quickly, grabbing my napkin and helping Maya sop up the mess. "Yes," Brittany agreed, her voice honeyed but her eyes like ice chips. "They certainly do." Mark just kept cutting his steak, his eyes fixed on his plate. He didn't say a word, not to Maya, not to his wife. Connor and Lily, normally talkative kids, just stared at their food. The silence in the room was louder than a scream. That night, long after the disastrous dinner, I heard Maya's small feet padding down the hall. She climbed into my bed, curling against my side. She'd been doing it every night since she arrived. "Grandma Ellie?" she whispered, her voice muffled by my nightgown. "Yes, sweetheart. Why doesn't Aunt Brittany like me?" The question shattered my heart. How do you explain racism to a 6-year-old? How do you tell this innocent child who has already lost her entire world that the color of her beautiful skin makes some people cruel? "Oh, baby," I said, holding her close. "Some people just have small hearts. They're afraid of anything that's different. But I'm not different. I'm Maya. I know. And you are perfect." I kissed the top of her head. "Some people have small hearts," I repeated, "but my heart is big enough for all the love you need." She nodded against my chest, and I felt her hot tears soaking through the fabric. I made a silent promise in the dark. I would protect this child. I would be her shield against anyone who tried to make her feel small. I had no idea what I was promising. I had no idea what was coming. Brittany's passive aggression became a master class in plausible deniability. She'd forget to include us in group texts about family get-togethers. The following Saturday, I saw a string of cars parked outside Mark's house. I heard music and splashing. "What's that, Grandma?" Maya asked, peering out the window. "It looks like a pool party, sweetheart. Put your swimsuit on. We're going." "But we weren't invited." "We're family. We don't need an invitation." We walked the 2 blocks, me carrying our towels, Maya holding my hand. When we walked through the side gate, the music seemed to stutter. Brittany, holding a tray of drinks, stopped dead. "Eleanor," she said, her voice strained. "I didn't know you were coming." "Clearly. Hi, Brittany. Maya wanted to swim with her cousins." Brittany's eyes flickered to Maya. "Oh, I didn't realize you were bringing her." Emphasis on her. Like Maya was a stray dog I'd found on the street. "She's my granddaughter, Brittany. Where she goes, I go. Now, if you'll excuse us, that water looks lovely." I steered Maya toward the pool, leaving Brittany fuming by the patio table. Mark, conveniently, was stuck at the office on a Saturday. He was always conveniently missing. The final straw before the photo shoot came in October at Connor's birthday party. This time, we were explicitly invited. I thought maybe things were getting better. When we arrived, the house was full. Brittany was in her element, playing the perfect hostess. When it was time for cake, she started directing people to tables. "Eleanor, you're over here with me and Mark. Connor, Lily, you sit with the adults, too." "And Maya?" I asked. Brittany gestured to a small card table in the corner, away from the main dining room. "Oh, the kids' table is over there. It's much more fun for her." Maya looked at the lonely table, then at Connor and Lily, who were already seated with their parents. "Why can't I sit with my cousins?" Maya asked, her voice small. "This table is just for you, honey. It's special." The lie slid off her tongue like oil. I looked at Mark. He was busy lighting the candles on the cake, refusing to meet my eyes. "Fine," I said, my voice sharp. "We'll make it special." I pulled a chair from the dining room. "Come on, Maya. You and I will sit at the fun table together." I sat with my back to the main party, facing my granddaughter at her table of exile. That night, I went home and bought a small notebook. I started writing everything down. Every slight, every forgotten invitation, every cold look. I didn't know why, but I felt like I was gathering ammunition for a war I didn't want to fight. In November, Brittany called. Her voice was sickeningly sweet. "Eleanor, I've booked our family Christmas photos at Morrison Photography. We're all going. I even bought matching outfits, deep red and forest green sweaters for everyone." "Everyone?" I asked. "Of course. I just wasn't sure about Maya's size." "She's a 6, same as Lily was last year." "Right. Well, I'll just pick something up for her." When we arrived at the studio, Brittany handed me a sweater for Maya. It was red, but not the deep forest green and red pattern everyone else was wearing. It was a bright primary crayon red. It was the right size, but the wrong shade, designed to make her stand out like a mismatched puzzle piece. "It's different," I said, holding it up. "They were all out of the other ones." Brittany smiled, that sharp, cold smile. "It's all they had. She'll still look cute." Maya, oblivious, was just thrilled to be included. She twirled in front of the mirror, happy to have a new sweater. But I saw the calculation. I saw the deliberate act of othering her, right there in the fibers of the wool. The photo session itself was surprisingly smooth. Maya, thrilled by the attention, behaved beautifully. She smiled on cue, following the photographer's directions. "All right, big family shot," Mr. Morrison called out. "Kids in the front." Maya scrambled into place, standing proudly in the front row, right between Connor and Lily. Her gap-toothed grin lit up her whole face. Mr. Morrison snapped several photos. "Wonderful. Just wonderful. What a beautiful family we've made." He lowered his camera and pointed to Maya. "That little one right there. She has such expressive eyes. She's going to be a heartbreaker when she grows up." "She takes after her mother," I said quietly. Brittany's smile never wavered, but I saw it. A flash of something dark and possessive in her eyes, something that made my stomach clench with dread. I dismissed it. Surely even Brittany wouldn't cross certain lines. I was wrong again. Which brought me back to my kitchen table, staring at the evidence of her hatred. December 15th. The front door burst open and Maya bounded in, her cheeks red from the cold. "Grandma Ellie, Emma's mom said I can have a sleepover this weekend." She stopped short. Her eyes went to the table, to the stack of 50 identical cards. She crept closer, her joy evaporating. She picked one up with trembling fingers. Her young mind tried to process the image. She looked at Connor, at Lily, at the empty space between them. "Grandma," she whispered, her voice cracking, "where am I?" The question hung in the air, toxic and suffocating. "I was there," she said, her voice smaller now, confused. "I remember. I stood right there, between Connor and Lily. We all wore red sweaters." I wanted to lie. I wanted to protect her for just one more second, but she deserved the truth. I pulled her onto my lap, my heart breaking all over again. "Yes, sweetheart, you were there. Then where did I go?" Someone took you out of the picture. On purpose." Her face crumpled. The tears came, hot and fast. "Who? Who would do that? Why don't they want me in the family pictures? How do you explain this kind of evil to a child?" "Your Aunt Brittany did it," I said, my voice hard but steady. "She is scared of differences, and she has a very small heart. But that says nothing about you, Maya." It says everything about her." She studied the card again, her small finger tracing the empty space where she should have been. "Do other people think I don't belong, too?" "The only opinions that matter are from people who love you," I said firmly, hugging her tight. "And I love you more than all the stars in the sky." She nodded, but the seed of doubt had been planted. Brittany's cruelty had found its mark. That night, after Maya was in my bed, clutching Mr. Peanuts, I called Mark. He answered on the fourth ring, sounding distracted. "Mom, I'm in the middle of something. Can this wait?" "No, Mark, it cannot. We need to talk about the Christmas cards." Silence. Then a weary sigh. "What about them?" "Don't play dumb with me. Your wife paid $300 to have Maya digitally erased from our family photos." Another pause. "Mom, I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation." "The reasonable explanation," I spat, "is that your wife is a racist who can't stand having a biracial child in her perfect white family portrait." "You're being dramatic." Those 4 words lit a fuse inside me. Dramatic. The same word he used every time I tried to talk about Brittany's coldness. The same word used to silence women for centuries. "Mark James Parker," I said, using his full name. "I am not being dramatic. I am being factual. Your wife committed an act of psychological violence against a 6-year-old orphan, and you are defending her. It's complicated, Mom. Brittany's been under a lot of stress." "We've all been under stress," I shouted. "I lost my son. Maya lost her parents. But you don't see us taking it out on a child." I could hear him breathing, the sound of a man cornered. "What do you want me to do?" he asked finally. "I want you to be a man and stand up to your wife. I want you to demand she apologize to Maya, and I want you to order corrected Christmas cards that include your niece and send them to every single person who received the fake ones." I'll talk to her," he stammered. "You'll do more than talk, Mark," I said, my voice dropping to ice. "You'll act, because if you don't, I will." I hung up the phone. 2 days passed, not a word, not a text. Their silence was an answer. It told me exactly where their loyalties lay, and it wasn't with Maya. I spent those 2 days forming a plan. Brittany wanted to play games. Fine. She was about to find out I'd been playing family politics since before she was born. On Friday evening, Mark finally called. His voice was tired. "Mom, Brittany and I have discussed the situation." "Have you now?" "She feels terrible about the misunderstanding with the photos. It was never her intention to hurt Maya's feelings." Misunderstanding. The word was so insulting I almost laughed, as if one could accidentally order a digital execution. "And what," I asked, "does she intend to do to fix this misunderstanding?" "Well," he hedged, "it's too late to order new cards this year, but next year she promises to be more careful about the photo selection." More careful? Not, "I won't be a malicious racist, but I'll be more careful." That's not acceptable, Mark. "Mom, be reasonable. The holidays are stressful enough without creating unnecessary drama." There it was again. Drama. Protecting my granddaughter was drama. "You're right, son," I said, my voice suddenly calm. "The holidays are stressful, but don't you worry about creating unnecessary drama. I'll handle that part myself." I hung up before he could reply. The next morning, I drove to Morrison Photography. Mr. Morrison looked deeply uncomfortable when I walked in. "Mrs. Parker, I need the original, unedited digital file from our photo shoot, and I'd like a print, a large one, and I'd also like a print of the edited version your studio produced at my daughter-in-law's request." He winced. "Mrs. Parker, in 30 years, I've never had a request like this. It troubled me deeply." "As it should," I replied curtly. "The files, please." He printed them without another word. My next stop was the FedEx office. "Can you blow these up?" I asked the young man behind the counter. "Poster size, and I need them mounted in a single side-by-side frame." He looked at the original photo. "Beautiful family," he said with a genuine smile. That little girl in the front has such a sweet smile." "Yes," I said, my voice tight. "She does." Christmas morning dawned crisp and bright. Maya woke me at 6:30, bouncing on the bed. Santa came. He ate the cookies. We spent the morning in our pajamas, surrounded by wrapping paper and drinking hot chocolate. I'd gotten her art supplies, books, and a new winter coat. But her favorite gift was the last one she opened. It was a small silver locket. "It's for pictures of your mommy and daddy," I explained, helping her clasp it around her neck, "so they can always be close to your heart." She touched it gently, her eyes bright. "Thank you, Grandma Ellie, it's perfect." I hugged her. This was what I was fighting for. This child, this locket, this memory. At 2 p.m., we arrived at Mark and Brittany's house. The place was a shrine to suburban perfection. It looked like a magazine spread. Brittany had an audience to impress. Mark's business partner, Robert, and his wife, Linda. Brittany's sister, Jennifer, and her husband, Tom. A colleague named Dave, and his new girlfriend, Christine. All white, all wealthy, all the people Brittany wanted to be. Maya looked beautiful in a red velvet dress, her hair in neat braids. She greeted everyone politely. But I watched Brittany's friends. Their eyes slid right past Maya as if she were invisible. Just like in the photograph. Dinner was a performance. Chatter about property values, vacations, and promotions. Maya sat quietly beside me, a ghost at the feast. After the main course, as Brittany served her tiramisu, Robert's wife, Linda, spoke up. "Brittany, your family photo was absolutely gorgeous this year," she gushed. "Such a perfect representation of your beautiful family." Brittany beamed, soaking in the praise. "Thank you, Linda. Morrison Photography always does such excellent work." Maya looked up at me, her face clouded with confusion. I squeezed her hand under the table. "Did everyone get their cards?" Brittany asked the table, preening. "I sent out about 60 copies this year." 60 announcements that Maya Parker didn't exist. That was my cue. I stood up, walked to the hall closet where I'd stashed my package, and returned to the dining room. "Brittany," I announced, my voice carrying clearly through the sudden quiet, "I have a Christmas gift for you." She looked puzzled but pleased. "Eleanor, you didn't need to bring me anything." "Oh, but I did," I smiled, my voice as warm as honey and twice as deadly. "This is something I think everyone should see." I placed the large, flat package in front of her. Brittany's manicured fingers worked at the wrapping paper. The room was silent save for the clinking of dessert forks. The paper fell away, revealing a large picture frame, face down. She lifted it, turned it over, and froze. Her face went from Christmas pink to ash gray in a single heartbeat. There they were, 2 photographs side by side. On the left, the original, our family, with Maya standing proudly in the front row, her gap-toothed grin lighting up the image. On the right, the edited version, the one Brittany had mailed to 60 families, the one where Maya was gone. The silence in the room was absolute. "What is this?" Brittany whispered. "Your Christmas gift," I replied pleasantly. "I thought everyone should see both versions of our family Christmas card, the real one and the one you edited." Linda, Robert's wife, leaned forward, squinting. "I don't understand. What's the difference?" "Look closely at the front row," I suggested. "In the original photo, you'll see my granddaughter Maya. In the version Brittany sent out, Maya has been digitally removed." The reaction was immediate. Linda gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Jennifer's jaw dropped. Dave's girlfriend, Christine, physically recoiled from the table. Mark sat like a statue, tiramisu dripping from his suspended fork. "Mom, what are you doing?" "I'm giving your wife public recognition for her artistic skills," I said calmly. "Did you all know she paid $300 to have Maya professionally erased from our family photos?" This is taken out of context," Brittany stammered, her eyes darting around the table. "Then please," I gestured graciously, "help us understand. Explain to our guests why you spent $300 to remove a 6-year-old orphan from her own family's Christmas cards. All eyes were on her. Her perfect hostess image was crumbling.